What's going on, everyone? It's Ben from YGO from Zero, back with another Retro Yu-Gi-Oh video, and in this video we're going to be doing another Warrior deck list. Now, if you're not familiar with Warrior format, it's the format from February 2005, SJC Columbus, and it is a very exciting format. There's a lot of very interesting decks running around. The metagame is still very undefined, and people aren't really sure what's tier 1, tier 2, etc. So there's a lot of interesting experimentation going on. Now, I wanted to do some more experimentation, but I realized that I hadn't really covered the namesake deck of the format yet. I started off with the previous topping list, which was water. Then I did show a warrior deck, but it was a gear-free deck, which is a little bit different from the typical warrior list. So I decided to just sort of jump in to a regular warrior deck in this video. And, not just any warrior deck, but I'm going to show off the warrior deck that I think is like the warrior format warrior deck. Now, I'm not saying that this deck is the best deck in the world. I actually don't think that. I'm not the best warrior player, and thus I'm not the best warrior deck builder. I just sort of like based this deck on a couple different things. I looked at some topping goat warrior deck lists, and I sort of like just adapted it a little bit to warrior format. The reason why I call this like the warrior deck list is because I'm including a very classic combo in warrior format, which is playing Mirage Nightmare with emergency provisions. Now, if you don't know, Mirage Nightmare is limited in warrior format, and MST is also limited in warrior format. So in previous formats, you were able to have Mirage, and you were able to have triple MST, and have easy ways to out your Mirage. This format, there aren't really ways to do that as much. So we're playing the emergency provisions, which is a tool that some people have used in the past to sort of get rid of Mirage off your side of the field and gain some life points while doing it. So we're testing out this combo. Now, a bit of a spoiler alert for the rest of the episode. I really don't think that this combo is good. I think that emergency provisions is a little bit cope, and it's just better to not play Mirage at all if you have to play emergency provisions to provide for it. But it is an interesting combo, and it's very funny, so that's why we're playing it. But going through the card by card, we got BLS, of course, one of the most powerful monsters in the format. And because we got BLS, we do have a fair amount of lights and darks to support it. We got Double Blade Knight, Breaker the Magical Warrior, Triple DD Warrior Lady, which is at 3 in this format, one of the biggest changes from GOAT here. We got Don Zalug as a Dark Warrior, which can discard cards from our opponent's hand, which is pretty good. We get Exiled Force as a Rota target, not a lighter dark, but still very good as a Rota target nonetheless. We get Fiber Jar to shuffle back everything into the deck in case we are low on card advantage. We get Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer to deal with our opponent's Chaos monsters, and also just be a good dark for us. We got Mystic Swordsman level 2 to deal with set monsters. We got Ninja Grandmaster Sasuke to deal with Great Keeper Spy, which has been seeing a rise in popularity in this format and a lot of other retro DM era formats. We have Sinister Serpent as something to pitch off of Drive Infecting Virus, and also as a way to sort of hedge Mirage Nightmare a little bit. Because we do have Serpent, then we get to add back Serpent every standby phase. So if we discard Serpent off of Mirage, we get to add it back. So I think that because we're playing the Mirage without really too many ways to get it off the field, I think we do need the Serpent. But if you cut the Mirage package, you probably wouldn't need Serpent in this deck. We've got Change of Heart, Confiscation, Emergency Provisions, as I mentioned. This card's really bad. Don't play it, but maybe you'll see why it's really bad later in the video. We got Heavy Storm, we got the Mirage Nightmare, we got the MST. We got Double Nobleman of Crossout since we're trying to get aggressive. We've got the Noblemans to clear away our opponent's monsters. We got Pot of Greed, we got Premature Burial to bring back any of our monsters from grave. We got Double Reinforcing the Army to search out a warrior that we might want from deck. We got Snatch Steal here, we got Forceful Sentry, and then moving on to the traps, we got Call the Haunted to bring back a monster just like Premature Burial. We got Dust Tornado to clear the way for our big aggressive pushes. We got Ring of Destruction to deal a bit of extra damage and also act as removal. We got Triple Sacred to Armor to deal with our opponent's attacking monsters. We got Triple Solemn Judgment to stop our opponent's plays. And lastly, we got Torrential Tribute to act as the only real board wipe in the format. For the side deck, the side deck is a little bit awkward here. I, wasn't quite sure exactly what to put in. Things I'm most confident in are the Triple Royal Decree and the Triple Trap Dust Shoot. You can bring in Dust Shoot when going first. Super powerful card that can just win you the game on the spot. You've got Triple Royal Decree for trap focused decks like Burn or things like that. We've also got double Dust Tornado to deal with our opponent's back row if they're playing a more back row focused deck. We got double Smashing Ground to deal with like if our opponent's playing a deck with monsters that are kind of annoying to deal with by battle. We got Jinzo here to shut down Trap Food's decks, just like for Royal Decree. We got double Cypher Soldier or Kinetic Soldier, depending on when you grew up. This card is good at dealing with warrior decks, which we are playing, but for the mirror, this can be good to bring in. We got a Chaos Orc if we want to go a bit more into the Chaos strategy, and lastly, we got a third Blade Knight. For the extra deck is just, a typical fusion deck for this sort of format. Because Scientist and, Cyberstein are legal here, you can occasionally take those monsters like Change of Heart or Snatchio, so it's good to have one filled up here. But the fusion deck is also unlimited at this format, so you can sort of proxy in a fusion monster if you're missing it from your fusion deck. So it's not the most important thing in the world, but it is good to keep in mind what fusion monsters exist in the format. So we get Dark Ball the Terrible, Dark Blade the Dragon Knight, Darkfire Dragon and Dragoness for weird level shenanigans, Fiend Skull Dragon, Flame Ghost for being a dark level 3 for weird level shenanigans. We got Master of Oz, we got Ojama King, we got Reaper of the Nightmare, we got Roaring Ocean Snake, Ryu Senshi, Last Word from Another Planet, and Thousand Night Strict at 3 for some reason. I think honestly this fusion deck should also include a Guiltia, but again, you can always sort of proxy that in if you need it. But that's going to do it for this deck breakdown. Let's dive into the games and see how they go. Okay, we got a game against Jazz, who is a great player in a lot of these retro formats. They haven't featured on the channel too much, but always a pleasure to have them on. We're going to dive in to the game. We are going second because we lost the rock, paper, scissors, and this is not a bad hand at all. Opponent's going to start off with a painful choice, which was pretty good for them, and they're going to send 5 pretty decent ones here. Now, normally we would give them Serpent, but because they sent Demok, I figured they could have a way to bring that back with something like Premature Burial or something like that, so I don't want to give them that opportunity. I'm just going to give them the Demok. Because if they go for like a pot or something after this and then go for pre-mat on the Demok, that's really bad for us. So I also figure that since we got the Fiber Jar, we can always set this if it looks like our opponent is going to sort of set up 2 monsters on field to tribute off for Demok. So I think that it's okay to give them that. We're just going to bring out the Warrior Lady attack in for 15. We could have brought out the Blade Knight as well, but Blade Knight will not get its buff because there's no way for us to actually get down to 1 card in hand. So I figure it's fine just holding the Blade Knight. Opponent's going to go for a Scapegoat here. They're going to get 4 goat tokens out. And we'll hit over one of those tokens, and then just pass back to our opponent. We don't really want to set the pre-mat or the Snatch Shield at this point, because we don't want them to get hit with spell and trap removal. We could have set them as bluffs, I guess, but I'm not really too concerned about this. We got Warrior Lady to banish, whatever they might bring out, so I feel fine about this. Opponent's going to go for a pot here. They're going to switch a go token to attack, and then go for creature swap to give us that token. So we'll be taking 15 here. And then our opponent's going to set 1 pass back to us. That's pretty rough for us. We're going to go for a Blade Knight here. Take control of their Warrior Lady with the Snatch Shield. Set Solomon pre-mat just in case they are on like a Morphing Jar there. It's unlikely given their hand, but we did see Cyber Jar, so it could be. And we're going to attack into their set with the Warrior Lady. Now, we could have done this a little bit differently. We could have just attacked into the set with Blade Knight, not Snatch Steal the Warrior Lady. But I don't want to let them get potentially 2 monsters on field for Demok, so that's why I'm going for this play here. Yes, I could Solemn the Demok if it comes down, but I don't really want to use up the Solemn this early. And also, I figure that the set might be a Serpent, so I'm not really too concerned about hitting over it with the Blade Knight specifically. I'd rather hit over it with the DD Warrior Lady, banish both. But unfortunately for us, it is a Magician of Faith, so they'll be able to get back a powerful spell here. So it was not the Serpent as I had hoped, but they're going to grab back that Pot of Greed. We'll just let that go to grave because they've already got a Light Engrave in the form of Air Knight Parshath, so no real need to banish it here. Our opponent's going to gain 1,000. They're going to go for Change of Heart, and we got to think about this. I'm a little bit concerned about that Change of Heart because they can clear both of our monsters with that. So I actually am going to go for Solemn here. I think this was a bit of a mistake because if they do clear both of our monsters with the DD Warrior Lady, then we can just set Fiber Jar, reset the board state. We are a bit down on life points, but I feel like that's better than paying half our life points more for a Solemn. When we are in kind of a precarious situation, there are other things that our opponent could have to win here, and they've got 7 cards in hand. So they were going to go for a pot, draw 2 more, go for Forceful, just get a peek at what we're working with, send back the Fiber Jar there. And they're going to bring out a Scientist. Scientist is going to be able to bring out a Ryu Senshi and another card here. They're going to bring out a Dark Blade the Dragon Knight So, oh, and then they're going to bring out a BLS. And yeah, BLS will be the end of the game because what they can do is they can just attack Ryu Senshi into one of the monsters, directly the Dragon Knight into the other, and then attack directly for 3k. So that will be the end of the game here. I think if I had not gone for the Solemn, we could have been in it for a little bit longer, but our opponent was probably going to win that one either way, given how much more cards they had in hand than us. I mean, we had Fiber Jar, so we could set Fiber Jar and get things going that way, but our opponent could just, gone for Scientist, and then we would have had to Solemn that. They would have gone for Change on our set, and then flipped up the Fiber Jar of their own volition. So I don't think we were going to win that one either way. But I still think it is good to highlight where we did misplay because, trying to improve with these decks is always, a process of seeing where you messed up and trying to fix that for the future. So we bring in 2 Dust Shoots here. We swap out a Sakuretsu Armor, and I believe, oh, what did I swap out? Maybe a Snatch Steel? I forget exactly what other card I swapped out here, but I definitely swapped out one of the Sakuretsu armors, but I wanted to keep in another, so I didn't go for the full 3 Dust Shoot because I couldn't figure out where else to cut. We're just going to start with a set Fiber Jar, set Solemn, set Saku here, because I figured that the best way to get aggressive is just sort of like float Fiber Jar next turn, and then get a new hand, attack in with a monster. Our opponent is going to go for a Zambira here. They're going to attack into our set. It is a Fiber Jar, so that will get everything shuffled back. And we draw 5 pretty good ones. We draw Dust Shoot, so that is really good for us. We draw Heavy as well. So if our opponent does want to go for a bunch of back row, we Heavy them. If they don't, then we go for Dust Shoot next turn. But they're just going to set one pass back to us. We're just going to bring in a Sasuke, attack in. I don't really want to bring in the Breaker against that set because it could just be a Scapegoat, and that seems like a waste of a Breaker. Main 2, we're just going to set the Dust Shoot. We're going to set the Storm, pass back to our opponent, and then we're going to go for Dust Shoot in their standby. So we see they've got a Kaiku, a Metamorphosis, a BLS, a Premat, and an Apprentice Magician. I feel like of these monsters, Apprentice is the most annoying for us because Apprentice can get out Scientist, can get out Magician, and also set up for the Light and Dark Engrave for the BLS. So I do send back the Apprentice there. They don't have any monster engrave for the Premat right now. They don't have any monsters in meta away right now. They get Kaiku, which can crash with our Grandmaster, but we got Breaker to follow that up with, so I'm not too concerned about that. They are going to bring out the Kaiku, attack into our Sasuke, and they're just going to pass back to us. We draw Rhoda, which is even better. We're going to go for Rhoda here. Grab a Don Zalug, and then we're going to summon out that Zalug. They've got TT for that. We'll set the TT of our own, pass back to them. They're going to go for Premat here. Try and bring back the Kaiku. We're just going to TT that, just so they don't banish any of our monsters here. And they're just going to set one pass back to us. We draw Confiscation, so we can go for Confiscation, rip a card out of their hand. We see they've got the meta and the BLS, so the set is unknown. But of those, I want to send the meta because if the set is a Scapegoat, then, meta is a lot worse for us there. But we're just going to bring up Breaker, attack in for 19. They've got the Scapegoat indeed, which is why I didn't use the token or the counter on the Breaker to pop that. I figured that they probably did have a Scapegoat, and we're just going to pass back to them. They're going to pass back to us. We draw Mirage, which is pretty good. We're just going to attack over a token, set the Mirage, or activate the Mirage, because, we can just dig deeper in our deck. I think in hindsight, this might have been a mistake, because we're still in a really good position, and we don't necessarily want to lose our Fiber Jar, which could, get us out of this if we get into a bad position. So I actually don't think I really need to go for the Mirage here. But, I don't think the drawing more cards is bad, and we are playing Emergency Provisions and MST, so we do have ways to deal with it, but I think this was a little bit greedy on my part. So we will draw 3. 3 pretty good ones, by the way. And our opponent's going to go for a meta here, bringing out a Thousand Eyed Restrict. They're going to suck up our Breaker here. And this is a situation where, we would want to go for Fiber Jar next turn. Unfortunately for us, we might discard the Fiber Jar off the Mirage. So they're going to pick 2 for us to keep here. And, or they're going to discard some. So they're going to discard the Ring. They're going to discard the Fiber Jar. Ooh, that hurts. And they're going to discard the Sakuretsu Armor. That's pretty rough. I mean, we got exiled to deal with the Thousand Eyed, so we will just do that. But, it's not looking the best for us. We'll set the Solemn, draw 4 off the Mirage, and luckily we do draw an MST. So, we did get that pretty early, so we did get lucky with that. We're going to use MST on the Mirage there. Go for pot, draw 2. And this is a pretty good hand right here. We're going to go for Serpent and just attack over their token there. I think I could have gone for Premat as well. just to bring back another monster, get the aggressive pressure going. But I can save that for later, I think. So we're just going to set a call, pass back to them. Unfortunately, our Storm has been dead here. We don't necessarily want to lose our Solemn. We don't necessarily want to lose our call. So it's kind of unfortunate how that's worked out. But, if we do go for an aggressive push later in the game, we can always just fire our Solemn there. So we're going to go for pre-mat here. We're going to bring back a Sasuke. That's 18. And unfortunately, I'm a little bit off lethal. This is 33, 36. And then I don't have another 1800 attack point monster in grave. I just have 1600 attack. So I can get them down to 200. But ultimately, that's kind of rough. So, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to attack in with all the monsters I got. And then instead of going for Breaker, which maximizes damage, I'm actually going to go for Zalug. As that will discard a card out of their hand. And 400 versus 200 is not really that big of a difference in Warrior format. So, yeah, we're going to pitch a BLS. So we did know about that BLS, but happy to see it gone, as if they did have a way to get a light engrave, that BLS would be really annoying for us. So we're going to pass back to our opponent. They're going to go for Tribe. And, we could negate that. We could use Solemn on that, but I feel like this is ultimately fine because we still have a win con in the form of Snatch Steal. We just snatched their Tribe, and that'll be the end of the game. So as long as we get to keep our Snatch in hand and they've got Tribe on field, then we are in a winning position. They're going to go for Snatch on the Zalug, and I think I do have to actually sell them that, because if they take Don Zalug and then they rip the Snatch Steal out of our hand, then we've kind of lost our win condition. So we don't want that to happen. They're going to pitch the last card in hand to destroy all the warrior monsters on our side of the field, and they'll be able to attack over the Serpent here, dealing 1300. We draw a Saku, which is pretty decent, but, we won't really need it likely this turn because we can just heavy their board away. If they've got Scapegoat set, then we can snatch the Tribe, pop all their goat tokens. If they don't, then we're still in a good position. And so we snatch the Tribe, and that will just be the end of game 2. So I think we played that one a little bit better than we did game 1, but let's see if we can bring it home in game 3. This is a pretty good start, but still kind of awkward. We took out the Dust Shoots and brought back in like the Solemns, or no, the Sakus. That's what we decided out. But I think that, our side deck could be more tailored to deal with this sort of goat control matchup. We could have like a Stir Priest or Wang Hu's in the side, but unfortunately we don't have that there, so we do suffer against goat control. But our opponent's going to set one and then pass back to us, so we're actually in a really good position. We can go for Comfy here, see what they're working with. And this is kind of awkward because we'd want to cut them off of meta plays ideally. But as is, we can't quite do that. I do think it is still good to get rid of one meta because they've got Serpent, which will keep coming back unless we actually manage to do DD Worthy with it. But if they go for Serpent, go for meta, bring out Thousand Eyes, then we have to deal with Thousand Eyes, and then they'll get back Serpent and be able to do the same thing again later. So I think it's good just cutting them off of one of their meta plays, even though it is still awkward because they've got another meta in hand. We can bring out a Swordsman here, attack over their set, and it was an Apprentice Magician, so I'm very glad to hit over that with the Swordsman. We'll set our TT, pass back to our opponent. They're going to go for Kaiku here, attack over our Swordsman. We're going to go for TT here. I think this is a mistake. I think we could have just let the Kaiku go and then just set the Warrior Lady. But as is, we get a bit greedy with the TT. I don't think this was the right play at all. This does let us get aggressive next turn and bring out like a Kaiku attacking in for 18 and getting rid of that Kaiku in their grave and the Apprentice. So we're getting them off of more Chaos plays, but if they go for like Summon Serpent, creature swap into Kaiku, that's kind of awkward for us. So I don't really necessarily like this play. Our opponent is going to set one, and it is the Serpent indeed. And then they're going to bring out the Kaiku attack over the Serpent. They're going to go for swords here, pass back to us. We draw MSG, so we can out the swords if we want to. We're just going to set this DD Worthy, pass back to our opponent. They're going to add back that Serpent, bring in a Zumbira here, and they're going to attack over Zumbira. Since the DD Worthy is getting banished no matter what, we're going to banish it to deal with the Zumbira. They're going to attack in for 1800 here, banish the Swordsman, and pass back to us. We have Blade Knight. We could summon that out and just be a wall there if we wanted to, but I figure it's fine just to set the Warrior Lady here, pass back to our opponent. Good, they do have Snatch, so we don't necessarily want them to snatch our monster. They're going to go for Kaiku over the Warrior Lady. Pass back to us. We draw a Sasuke here. And this is a bit awkward. We're just not going to commit to the board. We could have potentially committed because we do have the MSC for the Snatch. But, we do know about the meta Serpent play, so they could just suck up whatever we bring out with a 1000 Restrict. So I'm fine just keeping these cards in hand for now. Opponent's just going to set one, pass back to us. We draw Rhoda, which is pretty good. We're going to go for Rhoda here, grabbing a Don Zalug, and we'll be able to bring that out, try and rip a card out of their hand. They've got a TT, though, so they'll TT that away. They've got heavy for our other back row. That's quite unfortunate here because we really did want that MST for the snatch deal. But as is, we're in kind of a tough spot now. We're going to go for the Sasuke attack over the DD Warrior Lady, so that will get banished, but we do have 2 Blade Knights to keep the aggressive pressure going. They're going to go for Painful here. They're going to think about exactly what to send. They're going to send Forceful, Comfy, and Triple Goat. I think of those, we'd rather give them the Comfy, because, you know, we've got double Blade Knight in hand, so it's not the most impactful Comfy in the world. They're taking 1,000, so I feel okay about that. They're just going to set one, set another, pass back to us. We draw Fiber Jar, so that's pretty good. I'm going to set the Fiber Jar because we're in a really awkward spot. We don't want to give them the Blade Knight for them to Snatch Steal. And I have 3 that's the Serpent anyways. If they do want to go for meta on Serpent, suck up our set, then that still isn't the worst thing for us because then they can't attack in. So, you know, we get time to actually do stuff potentially later. But yeah, it's a little bit awkward for us. They're going to go for Pot. Then they've got Change. That is quite rough. And then they're going to meta away our Fiber Jar, bring out a Dragoness. So that's why you include Dragoness in the Fusion deck in this format. This deck can't really use it because it's not playing meta. But in general, like Metamorph Shenanigans make Dragoness a must play. But yeah, we're in an awkward spot here. We're going to bring out the Blade Knight, attack over the Dragoness, dealing 800, and then main 2, we're just going to Nobleman away the Serpent. We could have set the Blade Knight, but I figure that's still kind of like a losing play, so I don't really want to do that. We're drawing 1 card each turn, and we're going to have to deal with Snatch Steal eventually, so unfortunately this will give our opponent a 2,000 attack point monster, but I just have to hope that they don't have another monster to actually win here, and unfortunately they've got Scientist, but that doesn't quite equal the end of the game right now because, you know, they can't attack with the monster that they bring out. So actually, we're still okay here. They're going to bring out a Dark Blade the Dragon Knight, bring out another Dark Blade the Dragon Knight. Oh, and then they've got meta for, yeah. So actually, this is not, yeah. So this does lose the game here because meta will bring out another Dark Blade the Dragon Knight, which can actually attack directly. So this will be 600 plus 2,200, which is 2,800, which is more than we got. They've also got Snatch Steal as well. So that's just very much the end of the game there. Very, very good games, though. I think I did misplay in game 1. But I think we were also losing game 1 anyways. I think, honestly, this game was probably lost in siding. The side deck just did not really have many ways to deal with goat control. But that's something we can change about the side deck in the future. I didn't change it in this video because I generally like to keep the same deck list throughout the entire video. But if you're adjusting the list in the future, that is definitely something you can do. But this wasn't the only game I got with the deck. Let's dive into the next one now. Next game we played was against Aratos, a frequent guest from the channel. Always a pleasure to have them on. We are going to dive in to game 1 here. And we do win the rock, paper, scissors, so we're in a pretty decent spot here. And this is a pretty good opening hand. We're going to set the Zalug, set Ring, set Saku. If they try attacking into the Zalug, we've got the Saku for that. You know, and then we can flip Dawn next turn, threaten to attack in for hand rip. And we're going to set the Solemn as well. The reason why I want to set the Solemn is because I don't want them to attack over the Dawn, and I also do have emergency provisions to get back life points later if I do have to use the Solemn on a heavy. And I really don't want to lose the Ring plus Saku. So I think this might have been a little bit greedy. I could have just also opened by setting a Ring, setting a Saku. But if they got Breaker, then they can deal with that. So I don't really want to play into things like that. So they do go for heavy. I go for the Solemn here. Again, I've got emergency provisions that make Solemn a little bit less bad for us. They're going to bring out ADD Word Lady attack in. We've got the Saku here to deal with that. And they'll pass back to us. We draw BLS, which is pretty good, especially because we got a Light and Dark on field. So if that set is TT, then we're still in a good spot. We're going to try attacking in. They've got a Scapegoat here, which is going to be really bad for us. We're going to set the emergency provisions, pass back to our opponent. And they're going to go for meta and bring out a Thousand Eyes. Now, I am just going to ring that away. I think, honestly, I could have waited to see what else they were doing, but I figure, like, no matter what happens, I'll have a Light and Dark Engrave if they manage to clear a board, so we're still in a good spot for later. They are going to... Let's see what they do. They had some technical difficulties, so we talk about that a little bit. They're going to go for a creature swap here, and we could give them the Dawn, but we ultimately choose to give them the Ninja Grandmaster Sasuke, because we don't want to actually lose our BLS. BLS is a very powerful card. I figure I've got other ways in deck to deal with Sasuke, so I'm just going to give them that. They're just going to attack in to the Dawn here. We'll take that 400, and they'll pass back to us. We draw Breakers, so that isn't out to the Sasuke if it actually manages to connect, so we'll just attack in with that. Unfortunately, they've got Ring for the Breaker, so that'll deal us 1900 each, and now we're in a tough spot. If we had Emergency Provisioned our own Ring earlier, we would have been in a slightly better spot, but I think that takes a level of hindsight that, like, we wouldn't naturally do that in that moment. I mean, maybe we would because, like, we have the read that they might have something else to deal with our stuff, but, like, I think that, that's a play that you wouldn't make unless you knew the exact outcome of what was coming later in the game. So, yeah, I stand by not going for the emergency provisions earlier, but if we had gone for emergency provisions, we would have survived one more turn there. So, that is something, I guess. But, yeah, I don't think that going that minus for an emergency provisions, giving you an extra 1,000 life points total, was worth doing. But, it is what it is. And so for game 2, we're going to bring the dust shoots again. We're going to side out a Saku and one more other card to play 2 dust shoots, 2 Sakus. I keep forgetting what that other card was. It might have been the comp. No, we'd keep in Comfy because we're going first. Yeah, I don't quite remember what it was, but we're going to go for Comfy here. We get a peek at their hand. We see they've got Meta, Mirage, Heavy, Shining Angel, and Sinister Serpent. I figure Meta is the biggest threat. We've got Mirage. We got MST for Mirage. We got DD Warrior Lady for Shining Angel or Sinister Serpent. We got Mystic Swordsman level 2 if they do want to set a monster there. So, I'm just going to set the Warrior Lady, set the TT, pass back to our opponent, trying to bait out the Heavy here. And they're just going to set 2, activate Mirage, pass back to us. We will just go for the MST on the Mirage. I think, honestly, we could have not done that because we do have Dust Shoot. So we could, like, Dust Shoot them after they draw here because we know that they don't have an MST. Or I guess they could have drawn an MST. But I figured that it probably would be better just to Dust Shoot them and then we can MST them later. So I think this was a bit of a misplay here, but I figured, they're at 2 cards in hand, so it's not the most unlikely thing that they'll get up to 4, but I think this was a misplay. We just go for the Warrior Lady on their set. It is a Warrior Lady of their own, so they'll banish one of ours, and then we'll just pass back to them. We got Snatch Steal to deal with, like, if they bring out Angel or something like that, and they do indeed bring out Angel, so they'll attack in for 14. They're going to set 1 pass back to us. We draw a Fiber Jar here, which is actually a really good draw. We're just going to snatch the Shining Angel, attack in for 14, set the set the Fiber Jar there, pass back to them. We know they don't have Heavy, so if they do have Spell and Trap removal, they're probably going to use it on either the Snatch or the Unknown. They bring out a Shining Angel here to crash into the Shining Angel we took from them, and now they get out 2 light monsters here. So this would normally be really good for them, but they did have to use normal summon to do that, and we've got the Fiber Jar set here, so that will shuffle everything back into the deck, and I think we'll be in a pretty good spot from this position. Depending on what we draw, of course. We draw a pretty good hand here. We got another Fiber in case we need to reset the game state again. We get Change of Heart, Exiled Force. So we get a lot of different options here. So our opponent is going to also draw 5. And they're going to set 1 and pass back to us. We draw a Forceful Sentry. We're just going to heavy that set, then go for Forceful. Just get full knowledge of what they're working with. We see they've got a Magician of Faith, Snatch Shield, Tsukiyomi, and Meta. We just send back the Meta because we don't want to deal with Thousand Eyes Restrict here. We can just set the Fiber Jar next turn. And that's what we're going to do. We're just going to set Fiber, set Change of Heart, and they're going to set 1 pass back to us. We're just going to go for the Change of Heart here because, we get a little bit more knowledge of their deck if we manage to go for Forceful here. But it's just a Serpent. That's fine because we can go for Fiber Jar here. Reset the entire board again, and then potentially get in for a bunch of damage next turn. So we draw 5 pretty good ones here. And they're going to reset their entire deck as well. Draw 5 new ones, and we're going to bring out Kaiku attack in for 1800. Main 2, we're just going to set a Solemn and a Saku. If they do go for Heavy, I don't really think we want to Solemn that. We can just Sakuretsu Armor. If they also go for just a regular attack here. I don't want to set the call either because, again, if they go for Heavy, I don't want to necessarily Solemn that. So I'll save the call for later. They're going to go for Pot here, draw 2. And they're going to go for a Tribe here. We could potentially Solemn that, but I don't really want to. I guess maybe it would have been right because they're getting in for 1,600 anyways, and we're taking 2,250, which isn't that much off there. But I figure we can just, I don't know. We got Call to bring back Kaiku later to then get over the Tribe, so I don't really want to do that yet. I'm fine just taking some more damage. Unfortunately, they do have the Comfy here. So they'll be able to rip that Call out of our hand here. Then they're going to set 1 and fire Mirage. That's pretty rough for us, so we're just going to go for the MST. It's a little bit unfortunate because it gives them perfect knowledge of what's in our hand, so that's a bit awkward. But I do figure it's just better to do that now, especially because we do see that they have a Serpent, so that's going to be pretty good for the Mirage plays. But, we don't really have any other place, so we're just going to pass back to them. They add back the Serpent to hand there, and they're going to go for Painful here. That's going to be pretty good for them. We're just going to let that go through. They're going to send Decree Heavy, Forceful, Decree, and MSC. I think of those, we want to give them Forceful. They know our hand already. So, they're going to play around Knock no matter what. And if they want to send back the Knock, then, that's fine by us, I guess, because they're not really going to play into it. I guess it lets them play into it now because they can set a monster there. But we draw Blade Knight, which we'll be able to deal with the Tribe here. So that's pretty good for us. They're going to think about exactly what to do here, and they're going to bring out a DD Warrior Lady. They're going to try attacking into the Blade Knight. We do Saku that because we don't necessarily want to have no monsters on field, but I think I could have saved the Saku for later. As is, I feel pretty confident about being able to clear their set. So we're just going to attack in, not committing a monster to board in case it's a flip monster. We want to negate that with Blade Knight. Unfortunately, it only negates monster that destroys by battle, but it looks like our opponent has no targets left in deck anyway, so that's fine by us. Main two, we're just going to set this Serpent, pass back to them. They're going to go for a Sure Priest here, so they will be able to hit over the Serpent. That's fine because it's just Serpent. They're going to go for Book on our Blade Knight. We actually do debate going for Solemn on that, but I actually don't Solemn it because, we're in the same spot that we were in before because we can't get over the Spy. So it doesn't really matter here if we Solemn that. So we're just going to let that go through. And we won't take any damage at least because it is set. We draw a DD Warrior Lady, so that's pretty good. We can set that potentially. And we will indeed set that because we don't necessarily want them to get more aggressive pressure on board. They're going to set one. We draw a Sasuke, which is pretty good. We're going to go for Sasuke into the Spy there. Then we're going to go for the set. And it's unfortunately a Magician of Faith, so be able to add back Pot of Greed. That's kind of rough. But they already have a Light Engrave, so I don't necessarily want to banish that. So I'm just going to let that go through. And that main two, we're going to pass back to them. They're going to go for Pot, draw two more here. And they're going to go for a Sure Priest here. They've got Snatch Seal on the Sasuke. This isn't quite lethal damage for us, but it is really bad. So I am just going to Solemn that. I think I maybe should have saved the Solemn because they do have like a Chaos Monster like that. Then this will just be the end of the game. So if I had, we still would have been alive here. Now, you could debate that there wasn't really much I could do to get out of this if they did snatch the Sasuke there. But I still think it probably would have been better than what I did here. So, yeah, that will be the end of the game there. I checked after and the next card was Knock. Hindsight is not generally, you don't want to base your hindsight on just the top card of the deck, because that's like a bit of a bad habit because the top card of the deck could be something good. It could be something bad. Either way, you don't know in the moment. So like it doesn't really pay to base your decisions on what the top card of your deck actually was in the scenario. It pays to base your decisions on what the top card might have been. So, I'm not going to show off that top card here. It was Knock, just so you know, but I do think that's a bad sort of way to improve by doing that. I think just in hindsight, I shouldn't have solemned the snatch because I did have potential outs to that game state. So, I don't know. A bit of an awkward situation for sure, but definitely the incorrect play in my opinion. But that's going to do it for this game. Let's dive into the next one now. Okay, next up we got Rago Drago, a frequent guest on the channel. Always a pleasure to have them on. And we are going to dive into the rock, paper, scissors. We are going to be going first here. And this is a killer opening hand. We go for Pot, and then we go for Forceful, seeing what they're working with here. Just to check what they've got in hand, we got Mirage, Saku, DD Warley, Change of Heart, and Blade Knight there. This is a bit tricky. Saku, DD Warley, Change of Heart, and Blade Knight are very powerful cards, but I think what I want to actually do is send back Mirage, because Mirage, it gets them cards that I can't necessarily play around. So I'm going to send that back, and I'd rather have full knowledge than allow them to get more cards that I don't know. So we're going to set the DD Warley, set the call, pass back to them. They're going to go for Blade Knight here. They're going to set 3. And attack over the DD Warrior Lady. That'll banish both. And we draw another DD Warrior Lady. We're going to bring that out. Just try and attack in for 15 here. That beats out the Saku there. And now we've got a Light Engrave. All according to plan. They bring out ADD Warrior Lady of their own attack in for 15, and they'll pass back to us. We draw heavy, so we could just heavy the board away, but I kind of like this call, so I don't necessarily want to do that right now. We're going to attack over their DD Warrior Lady, and that'll get banished. Not the best use of Blade Knight, but it is something. At least it gets rid of their other monster that we know about. And they're going to bring out a breaker here. That's quite unfortunate. It does pop our call there. And then now they get in for 16, but we do have this heavy to capitalize off that. So we draw Saku. We go for the heavy here. And we hit the heavy plus change. So that's pretty good. We attack over their breaker. And they've got no monsters engraved to actually banish. So that's kind of funny. We're going to set this Saku here. Pass back to them. They're going to set 2. Pass back to us. We do have the Mystic Swordsman level 2 though. So we can just bring that out. Attack over their set. It was Magician of Faith. That doesn't get... well, it does get banished with the Kaiku. So it doesn't get banished from the Swordsman though. So... but I guess they're just shortcutting there. So... we'll pass back to them, and they actually just admit defeat. All they had was a Solemn plus knock, so yeah, this wasn't going to be their game. We got 2,700 damage on board, so yeah, it was very unlikely that they actually managed to make their way out of this. So I respect admitting defeat to not give us more information. But they mentioned that they actually are playing Return in their deck, so I actually do side into some Decrees here. I think I bring out some of these Solemns for Decrees because... yeah, I think I bring in a lot of my trap lineup here because if we're playing Decrees, then it's not necessarily the best to play a ton of traps as well. Because then our Decrees shut off our own traps. So we draw into Tribe here. We're just going to go for knock on their DD Whirly there, banish that, attack in for 16, and then main 2, we're just going to set 1 Decree, pass back to our opponent. They're going to go for Exiled here, get rid of our Tribe, pass back to us. We draw Dust Tornado, so that's something that can deal with their sets. Dust Tornado was one of the few traps that I decided to keep in, because it does sort of do the same thing as Decree. So we're just going to attack it in for 16, set the Dust Tornado, pass back to them. They're going to go for heavy here, so they'll clear our entire back row as well as their TT, so I'm fine with that. And then they're going to bring out a Blade Knight, attack in for 1,600. And then they're going to set 1, pass back to us. We draw Rhoda, which is pretty good. But we'll just go for Exiled here as opposed to Rhoda because I figure we can go for Rhoda on like Dawn to Luke next turn, attack in for 14, or we can go for Rhoda on Mystic Swordsman level 2 if they've just got a monster to set here. So they're going to set 2, pass back to us. We've got the Royal Decree, so they'll shut down their back row there. And now we can go for Rhoda here, grabbing a Mystic Swordsman level 2, hitting over their set monster. And I'm very glad I did that because that was a Magician of Faith, which could have brought back that heavy storm there. We're just going to set the Snatch, we'll pass back to them. Snatch is, I think, okay to set here because, they can't really clear it because they get Heavy Storm. I figure Royal Decree is the higher priority if they're going to, use MST on something. So, yeah, they're going to go for pot, set 1. We draw a DD Worthy, so we're able to attack in here for 2,400 damage, which is pretty good for us. And then we'll just pass back to them. They're going to go for Snatch on our Warrior Lady here. They'll attack into the Mystic Swordsman level 2. That'll deal 600 damage. We're down to 5,000. They're going to set 1, pass back to us. We can draw Heavy Storm. So we have a couple options here. We could go for Snatch on the D Whirly. We could also go for Heavy Storm. Clear away a bunch of their back row and then have a 1,500 beater. I think in hindsight, it would have been better to go for the heavy here, just clearing away their entire back row, getting the Warrior Lady. They're down to 1 card in hand. We got a 1,500 beater. We can just put them on a 2-turn clock, basically. But I'm not really in a hurry here because, either they don't really have a way to out the Decree right now, and I have many outs to this board in our deck. Also, if we draw into any other monster, I can go for heavy on the board and then just win the game on the spot, as opposed to sort of putting it as a 2-turn clock. So I figure that it's fine just letting this game state sort of continue. We gain 1,000 there. We draw Forceful. We get to peek at their hand. We see they've got BLS plus Smashing. So I think of those, I actually want to send back the BLS because, again, any monster off the top wins us the game. We're playing tons of monsters in deck. We got another Rhoda in deck as well. So I figure we're in a very, very good spot to just win the game in a coming turn soon. They're attacking 15. We gain 1,000. We'll just pass back to them with a knock. They're going to go for a Sasuke here. So they're getting a bit more aggressive. So next turn I should probably go for a bigger play here. They'll attack in for 18 plus 15. And they've got MST on the Decree. And now they've got Ring for our for the Sasuke. And that will actually be the end of the game. So actually maybe I should have gone for a more aggressive play here. But I think, I don't know. It's a bit tough. Hindsight's 2020, and I think having that trigger clock would be nice, but we're playing a warrior deck. We're playing a ton of monsters. Any monster at the top would have won the game on the spot and had basically no counterplay from them. So I think honestly, even though we lost, I think that was the right play that I did. But I don't know. Let me know in the comments below what you would have done. Because I definitely could have misplayed that. I do think though that like we were in a pretty good spot there. But our opponent did have the way to deal with that board. So going first in this last match, we do bring in the dust shoots, bring out the decrees. Because I want my dust shoots to be live. And Decree didn't really do much for us that last game. So we're going to go for Decree here. We get to peek at their hand. We see they've got Dawn, DD War Lady as the monsters. And they've got Knock, Call, MST, and Saku there. So we just take the DD War Lady as we don't necessarily want our monster to get banished because we got a pre-mat in hand here. So yeah, we'll take that. And they're just going to set one, set another, pass back to us. We draw a Dawn Zalug, so that's pretty good. We can get them to use up the Saku on the Dawn here if they don't want to get another card ripped. And they will indeed do that. We'll attack in for 18 with the Kaiku there. We'll set the pre-mat, pass back to them. And they're going to go for Forceful on our hand, send back the Knock. So they know about the Fiber now in hand. And they're going to pass back to us. We are just going to go for pre-mat on the Dawn. They've got MST for that, but we knew about the MST, so we were just baiting that out. We're going to bring out DD Worley here, attack in for 3,300. And I feel like we're in a pretty good spot overall. We're going to pass back to them. They will set one, set another, set another pass back to us. Wow, they're setting everything here. And I'm just going to bring out Kaiku because this is just lethal damage if this all goes through. We're going to attack with the DD Worley because we do know about the Call of the Haunted there. They've got Ring for the Warrior, so that will deal 1,500 damage to each of us. We'll attack over their set with the Kaiku here. We'll attack directly with the Kaiku. They've got Call. We got Ring, though, to make it so that this will be lethal damage. If they drew Book of Moon, then they'll Book of Moon down the Dawn Zalug here because we are going to use Ring on the Dawn. And, then we can attack over with the Kaiku. So either way, we're clearing their entire board or winning the game. And it turns out that this will just be winning the game here. It looks like their last card was a Nobleman, which wouldn't really be the best against us now. But that is going to do it for this game. I think that this game, showed this deck performing a lot better than it did in the previous games. But it makes sense as it is a bit better of a matchup for the Warrior deck. But again, we got more games coming, so let's dive into the next one now. Okay, we got some more games against Jazz, as I mentioned earlier. This is a different deck, though, so don't worry, you're not going to see a Warrior versus Goat control match again. But this is a bit of a spicy deck. So, kind of cool to see how this deck does against a deck like that. We set the Warrior Lead, set the Saku, pass back to our opponent. They're going to go for Forceful here, send back Rhoda. If you watch the Gear Feed video, then you might be wondering why I didn't set the Rhoda, because I did get punished for a similar play like this in that video as well. But I figure with Saku, with DD Warrior Lady on field, I figure we're in a good spot anyways. We got Change, we got Pre-Mat. We got a lot of different things here. So I figure this should be fine either way, even if we don't have access to Rhoda. They're going to set 2 pass back to us. We flip the Warrior Lady, attack into the set. It is a Mother Grizzly, so that is actually showing that they're on a water deck here. We do just banish that. Now we've got no monsters, but we do have this Change of Heart. We got the Ring, we got Saku, we got MST, so I figure it's ultimately fine, even if they send back the Rhoda. We draw Mirage, which is pretty good. We're going to go for Mirage here. We do have the MST already set. Unfortunately, we couldn't set our entire hand here. But yeah, we will be able to draw 3 off that Mirage and then MST it away. So we'll just MST that, doing it in their end phase in case they set like a Solemn and they want to Solemn the MST there. But we'll go for Rhoda here, get into a Dawn Zalug here. Bring out the Dawn. They're going to TT that. We got Pre-Mat for the Dawn. We just want to rip a card out of their hand. And I figure also getting aggressive is something good to do as well. We'll take in 14, rip the Salvage, go for Forceful here, see what they're working with. See that they've got a Salvage, a Pre-Mat, a Tribe, and an Abyss Soldier here. We're going to think about exactly what to send, but we are going to send back the Tribe as we don't necessarily want to lose our Zalug. And we got Saku and Ring to deal with Abyss Soldier, even if they bounce back one of our back row. So I do just send back the Tribe there. This also deprives them of a water to pitch for Abyss Soldier there. And then we'll set a Solemn pass back to our opponent. They are going to bring out the Abyss Soldier here, attack over our Dawn, or at least attempt to. We got the Saku for that. They're going to go for Pre-Mat on the Abyss Soldier here, just to get a body on board, I guess. And then they're going to go for Abyss Soldier, bouncing back that Pre-Mat. So that way they've got it online for later. And they're pitching a Serpent, which means that, they'll be able to get back that monster for later as well. So I think that's a really cool play. Unfortunately for them, it won't quite work out. We got change for the Abyss Soldier, and also we got Ring here. So this will just be the end of the game. And yeah, in hindsight, I should have just gone for the Dawn effect as well to send the top 2 cards of their deck to the graveyard to get more information. But realistically, it doesn't really matter because I'm just gonna win the game here anyways. And I'm somewhat familiar with what water decks do in general, so I think ultimately it's pretty fine here. For game 2, I actually don't bring in anything into the side. I think this deck is well equipped to deal with the water deck just as is. So I don't really feel the need to side anything. But our opponent's going to set 3, go for Mirage here, pass back to us. We don't have the MST, so our opponent will be able to draw 2 here. We go for Rhoda. We add back Warrior Lady here. We're going to summon out Warrior Lady, attack over the set. The reason we do this is because the water deck, basically, all their monsters, they want to be destroyed by battle, or they want to be sent to the graveyard. If you think about Sinister Serpent, Yomi Ship, Revival Jam, Mother Grizzly, all those cards have things when they're destroyed by battle, and so we want to get rid of it with Warrior Lady to just get it not engraved. This also shuts off their salvages later. We're going to go for a Forceful here as well. We see they've got a Grizzly, a Revival Jam, a Saku, and a Salvage. I think of those, I'm most worried about Saku. Yes, the Grizzly plus Revival Jam turn on Salvage, so they get a resource loop going. But if you look at our hand, we got all traps to deal with monsters, so I'm much more fine taking away the removal that they might have for our monsters than, taking away one of their monsters. So we're going to pass back to them. They will not out their own Mirage here, so we will get to discard 2 cards there. We're going to hit the Grizzly and the Salvage. They're going to bring out Revival Jam, try and attack in. We got Saku for that. And then they're going to set 1 pass back to us. We draw a Dawn here, so they'll draw 4. And we're just going to bring in the Dawn, try and rip 1 out of the hand. If we get really lucky, we could rip an MST here. We hit a Jar, though, so that's pretty good. They're going to think about exactly what to do here. They're going to go for Jar, trying to go for an MST deeper into the deck, or at least just trying to have a card in hand here. They don't have an MST, so we'll rip 4 cards to their hand, which were 4 pretty good ones, honestly. And they're going to go for Snatch on our Dawn here. We're just going to ring our own Dawn in case they've got Mobius in hand. It's better to just ring the Dawn now. They're going to set 1 pass back to us. It is pre-mat, so that is pretty good. We can bring back our Dawn if we want to, and we will indeed do that. Just, continue ripping cards out of their hand. I figured they don't have MST, or else they would have used it on the Mirage there. They're going to go for Call, though, bring back a Mother Grizzly, and we go for TT here. This might be a little bit greedy, but, I figure I don't want them to crash the Grizzly into the Dawn here, and then, get more water monsters out from deck. They can dodge around TT that way, because that happens in damage steps, so I just go for TT now. In hindsight, it probably would have been fine to just let this Grizzly go through because, I can set the Serpent, so they're not really getting, the full value off the Grizzly getting damage in. And if they want to actually get into our life points next turn, we can go for TT then. But, yeah, I think this was a bit awkward here. So we just TT the board away, set the Serpent, and pass back to them. But now they've got so many more cards than us, even with Mirage pitching for them, because now they've gotten into Serpent here, so they can bring out Serpent, go for creature swap on our set, which is kind of funny, and then we draw MST. So we will just MST their Mirage, prevent them from drawing here, because I think this is ultimately a pretty simplified game state, and I feel like the Warriors is more favored in a simplified game state like this. So we add back the Serpent here. We are going to bring out this Kaiku here, just try and get in for some damage, and we'll get in for 3, and then we'll get in for, okay, we won't get in for 18 because they got the Saku, but I still think that was the fine play to make. They're going to go for Abyss Soldier here, get over this Sinister, deal us 15, we draw Breaker, so we'll just try attacking over the Abyss, but unfortunately, they've got Ring to pop that. So now they'll add back the Serpent, and they're in a really, really good spot here. They'll attack in for 18, dealing us that 18, and then they're just going to set 1 and go for Abyss Soldier to bounce the Abyss Soldier back in case we've got Change of Heart or Snatch or something like that. I think that makes a lot of sense. But we're going to set Serpent and Saku here. They're going to go for MST on our set, and that will be the end of the game. Could they also get back the Serpent here so they can just bounce our Serpent back to hand and attack in with Abyss Soldier. So that'll be the end of the game there. I think going first in game 3, we do side in the Dust Shoots here. Taking out the Solemns, there isn't really anything in that deck that I super want to Solemn. So yeah, I go for Pot here, drawing 2, setting a DD Warrior Lady, Dust Tornado, and a TT here. If they've got heavy, they've got heavy. But we still have Snatch and Nobleman, which is pretty good against whatever else they might bring out. They've got Forceful though, so they'll be able to send back the Nobleman there, unfortunately. And they'll be able to set 3 Fire Mirage, pass back to us. We don't draw an MST'd out Mirage, but we do have this Dust Tornado, so we'll just deal with it that way. We're going to flip this DD Warrior Lady, bring out a Dawn to Luke, and now we're just going to attack over their set with the Warrior Lady. Unfortunately, they've got rings that will deal with the Warrior Lady that way. And instead of just attacking over their set, which could be like a Mother Grizzly, we're just going to set a Snatch Shield, pass back to them. This way they have to like flip up the Grizzly if they want to go for that. They're just going to bring out a Grizzly from hand. We go for TT on that. And we see that they're on Oppressed People, which is actually kind of a neat tech. It's a Water Monster, 2k Defender, so that's pretty good. We draw into a Call, which is pretty nice. We bring out a Kaiku here, and they're going to go for a Solemn on the Kaiku, which makes sense because, you know, they want to keep their Water Monsters engraved in case they draw like Salvage or something like that. So it makes a lot of sense to do that. We're going to set this Call. They're going to set 1, pass back to us. We draw Change of Heart, so this should be the end of the game. We're going to go for DD Whirly here, go for Change of Heart, flip the Grizzly, attack in for 29, and then go for Call to bring back either the Dawn or the Kaiku or whatever, you know, we want to bring back here. They just had a Jar of Greed, so it wouldn't actually stop that. And that will be the end of the game. But this wasn't the only game I played against Jazz playing a water deck. They actually tweaked their deck after this, and then we played another match with that. So let's dive into that game now. Okay, we got another game against Jazz here. We're going to dive in. We do lose the rock, paper, scissors, so our opponent is going to be able to go first. They're going to go for Painful here, send Serpent, some Abyss Soldiers, a Yomi Ship, and a Mother Grizzly. Of those, I just give them back the Serpent because I figure they can't really do much with that this turn. They go for Premat here, bring back an Abyss Soldier though, and now they've actually got a very interesting combo online. They can go for Abyss Soldier, pitching the Serpent to add that Premat back to hand, and then they're just going to set 5, pass back to us. We draw Heavy, which is probably like one of the best things we could have drawn here. Now, we could potentially, instead of just going for Heavy right away, we could go for Blade Knight, set a bunch of back row to actually get Blade Knight over the Abyss Soldier and try and bait out like a Solemn or something from that. But realistically, I don't think that's the best thing to do because then our Heavy is like very, very dead. So we want to go for Heavy first. If it's Solemn, which it is Solemn, then they're down to 3,600, so that's not bad for us. We're going to bring up Blade Knight, now set 3, attack over the Abyss Soldier, at least attempt to. They've got a Saku. They accidentally send Salvage, but we're not going to take that into account there. And we're just going to pass back to them. They add back a Serpent, but this is a really, really tough board state for us to actually deal with here. If they go for Premat again, we might actually have to Solemn it because otherwise they can just keep getting Premat back to hand with the Abyss Soldiers, and that's kind of rough for us. So they are going to go for Pot here, draw 2, and they're going to go for Upstart here, so we do gain 1,000, so that's not terrible. We can go for Salvage as well, adding 2 back to hand here. And they're going to bring out a Grizzly. They're going to attack in with the Grizzly and the Abyss Soldier here. We'll just take it all. We accidentally gain it initially, but we'll just take it eventually there. I've got DD Warley to deal with the Grizzly. If I Saku their Abyss Soldier, they can just Premat it back and then pitch to add back the Premat. So I know I said that I'd Solemn the Premat, but, you know, I still feel like we can save the Saku for later when we're in a bit of a tougher spot. So we draw another DD Warrior Lady here, so we're just going to bring out that DD Warrior Lady, try hitting over the Grizzly here, and that will go through. So we'll deal them 100 and pass back to them. They are going to go for Premat here on the Abyss Soldier, and we are just going to Solemn that as we don't want that to go through. They're going to Abyss Soldier, bounce one of our back row here. They bounce back the Premat, which is honestly better for us. But unfortunately, they've got an MST for the Saku there, and now they're able to get in for 3,400, which will be lethal damage. So if I had Saku'd the Abyss Soldier earlier, maybe things would have turned out differently, but yeah, it still would have been an awkward spot to be in for sure. But, you know, that's very, very cool that the water deck can do that. It's a very, very powerful combo, and very, very tricky for other decks to deal with, as you saw there. So, very cool stuff indeed. We are going to be able to go first this game, though, so, you know, we do bring in the Dust Shoots to deal with this deck a bit. We draw Emergency Provisions, so, you know, that could potentially come up later, especially because we got the Mirage here, so we can actually Emergency Provisions away the Mirage. Now, this isn't the most profitable way to do this because, like, we've only got 2 cards in hand. But this hand is not really the best, so I kind of want to draw into other things like, you know, Sakus or other removal things that we could get here. So I just go for it now. We're turning Mirage basically into a Pot of Greed, but slightly worse because we have to use another card Emergency Provisions on it. So realistically, we're not really getting much out of this. Our opponent's going to set 3. We're going to go for Dust Tornado here to snipe a card here because we want to maximize the use of our Emergency Provisions. So we'll send both of those cards there to gain 2,000 as opposed to just 1,000. But that play felt really bad to do. Emergency Provisions is just not it. Like, it is a really rough card. Even when you do the combo, it feels so bad. I mean, you could say the same thing about MST, I guess, but like, I don't know. It's just like emergency provision because it is so niche and because you can't use it for other things. When you draw it, you're just like, well, I guess I have to draw Mirage now, or else this thing is useless. So, um, yeah, I don't really like it. But we are playing it, and I think it's good to show off why I don't like it at least. So, we're gonna bring out a Blade Knight, try and get aggressive here. They've got a TT though, so they'll clear our board away. And we're just going to set the Saku plus Trap Dust Shoot here. I could have set the Call as well to bring back a Blade Knight or TT Warrior Lady. I think in hindsight, that might have been best. But I'm fine just doing this as well. If we draw another Warrior, it's fine. If we don't, then we got Call. So we're going to go for a Dust Shoot here. Get a peek at what they're working with here. They got Abyss, Swords, Salvage, and Grizzly here. Oh, wait, they go for Solemn. Never mind. I forgot about that. So we do not know what they have in hand. So that is a good thing to keep in mind. They go for Grizzly here. We've got the Saku for that. They're going to go for Salvage. Add 2 Water Monsters to hand here. And then they go for Swords. Pass back to us. We are just going to go for a Kaiku here. Set a Call. Pass back to them. And they're going to bring out... What are they going to bring out? They're going to bring out a Yomi ship. Get in over the Kaiku, or under the Kaiku, I guess, and destroy it. They don't have any monsters engraved for us to banish here. And we get Comfy, so we can copy away whatever else is in their hand. They've got an Abyss Soldier and a Grizzly. We're going to send the Abyss Soldier there, and they'll add back the Grizzly to hand. They're going to go for Upstart here. We gain 1,000, and they're just going to summon out the Grizzly, try attacking in. We could go for Call there, but I don't really see the need to. I figure we're fine doing this. And with that BLS in hand, we potentially should win the game, unless they have exactly Solemn. If they don't have Solemn, we should be fine here. We're going to banish Light and Dark from Grave to bring out the BLS. Not using Prio, that's fine by them. We're going to use MST on the Swords there. And now we'll attack in to the Mother Grizzly. If they've got removal for the BLS, then we just bring it back with Call the Haunted. And they do indeed have removal for the BLS, but we got Call, so we just call back the BLS. And that will be the end of the game because we attack in for 16. If they bring out another monster, we attack in for 15. If they don't bring in another monster, then we attack in for 3,000. So either way, that was going to be the end of the game there no matter what. So we're diving into game 3. I think I take out the Dust Shoots here because we are going second. But other than that, I don't really change much else. Our opponent is going to draw set 2, pass back to us. We draw a Knock here. That's pretty good. We'll go for a Reinforcement in the army. Grabbing a Don Zalug here. We could potentially go for MST before committing the Zalug, but if they use removal on the Zalug, that's still 1-for-1 removal. And we got TT in hand, so I'm fine just using the Zalug to bait out the removal instead. We go for Knock on the set, attack in for 14. They do have Ring, though, so that will pop the Don Zalug. And we'll just set a TT here, pass back to them. They're going to go for Heavy on our TT, then go for Abyss Soldier here to attack in for 1,800. And then they'll set 1, pass back to us. We draw Emergency Provision, such a great card. We're just going to set 4, pass back to them. I figure if they go for Heavy, we can always Emergency Provisions for 3. So that's why I set everything here. But yeah, they'll go for the Abyss Soldier here. We're just going to ring that before it gets out of hand. And we'll each take 18. Our opponent's going to set a bunch as well. Pass back to us. We draw Blade Knight, so we can bring that out. Attack in for 2k here, at least attempt to. They've got Saku here. So we'll pass back to them. They're going to go for Premat, but we've got the MSC here to pop that. And they're going to pass back to us. We draw a Saku here, so we'll set that. Pass back to them. They'll pass back to us. We draw Forceful here, so we get a peek at what they're working with. We see they've got a Creature Swap and a Mobius. We're going to send back the Mobius as, you know, we could always Solemn the Mobius, but I feel like that's kind of awkward. Creature Swap, they need another monster in hand as well to make full use of. So I'm fine just forcefulling back the Mobius there. I mean, they need another monster to make full use of Mobius as well, but Mobius also pops 2 on our field potentially, and we got a bunch back that we don't want to lose, so I figure it's fine just going for that. They're going to bring out Abyss Soldier, attack it for 18. I just Saku that away, and they're going to pass back to us. We draw a Nobleman of Cross out, so we're going to set that, pass back to our opponent, and they're going to set 1, pass back to us. We draw a Death Tornado here, we'll set that, pass back to them, and they're going to bring out a Pot of Greed, drawing 2. Go for a Mirage here, set 1, pass back to us. We have Death Tornado for the Mirage, so we're just going to deal with that. They've got Solemn, though, for that. We could potentially Solemn that ourselves, but we actually choose not to. So they'll draw 3 here. I want to save the Solemn for if they have a way to out the Kaiku, because I figure getting in for 18 is really good here. They do need a way to out their own Mirage. So I'm going to go for Solemn on that. Drop down to 1,500. Banish 2 from Grave, pass back to them. And they're going to go for MST on their Mirage. They do have a way to out that, unfortunately. They're going to set 1, go for Creature Swap here. And then they're just going to pass back to us in case we have a Saku here. We have Change of Heart, and we do just go for the we think about this first. We go for Chain of Heart on the Kaiku. Now we have a bit of a choice here. We could play around TT or we could play around Saku. They've used up 2 Sakuretsu armors, so they've only got 1 left in deck. So either way, we're playing around a 1 of. I think the best thing to do in hindsight would just be to attack him with Kaiku here, because the way I conceptualize it at the moment, the reason why I do flip up this Grizzly is because I'm like, well, okay, even if it is TT, they clear both our monsters, so now they can't summon out a monster, get over Grizzly that way. But if they do have that to go into anyways, then, you know, they need a monster that's 1400, 1500 attack anyways to attack in here. So, like, you know, realistically, that's going to do the same amount of damage to our life points that we would have normally. Yes, you know, this guarantees that they'll revival jam, which is exactly 1500. But I still think it's fine to just, like, flip up the Grizzly to play around Saku instead. But in hindsight, you know, I probably should have just kept the Grizzly set, because if they don't have a TT, and if they don't draw a monster next turn that can actually get over Grizzly, then we can flip the Grizzly and attack in that way. But I don't think of that in the moment. I just flip up the Grizzly. They TT that, and we'll pass back to them. They're going to go for a Revival Jam here, and we are forced to make an awkward play, going for Emerging Provisions to gain 1,000, and then take 15, dropping down to 1,000 left. And we draw Snatch Steal, so actually that is the perfect out, and that will be the end of the game. Wow. So the Emerging Provisions did save us there, I guess. But if that had been any other card that actually did something, then we wouldn't have been in this situation to begin with. So, yeah, I don't really think it was that good, even though it did, I mean, technically keep us alive long enough to win the game here. So, that will be the end of the game. And, yeah, I mean, listen, I still do not like Emergent Provisions, but it can come up in weird edge cases. But this wasn't the last game we played with the deck. We actually played one more game. So let's dive into that now. Okay, the last game we played here was against Kesha, a frequent guest on the channel. Always pleasure to have them on. We are going to dive into the rock, paper, scissors, and they will win the rock, paper, scissors. So they're going to be going first here. And we draw a busted opening hand. This hand is great. They're going to set 1, pass back to us. We're just going to go for pot here, draw 2. And we draw a breaker, so we're just going to try and bait out the back row with the breaker. It is Jar, so kind of unfortunate that we went for that, but we will be able to get in for 16, so that's pretty good. We'll set a TT, pass back to them. They're going to go for an Abyss Soldier here, so this shows they're on a bit of a water deck as well. We're going to go for TT there, and they'll pass back to us. We draw an MST here, so we're going to go for a Dawn. And we are just going to bring out the Dawn to attack in. They go for Ring. I think here, honestly, it would have been better to go for MST or Heavy. And we don't have TT, so like we don't really need to worry about having a monster on our side of the field. I think ripping a card at their hand would be better than just, you know, trading for their back row. But we're going to set the MST here, pass back to them. They're going to go for Breaker here, pop our MST, hit in for 16 here. Get in for that 16, and then they'll pass back to us. We draw a Nobleman, so that'll be good if they set something, but we'll just attack in for 18 as is. And then main 2, we're just going to set this Heavy, pass back to them. They're going to go for change here, and then tribute out of Mobius. We do lose our Heavy, but I had to read that they didn't really have much back row anyways, so that's why I was fine setting it. And they're not going to set anything, so that's perfectly fine by us. Now they've used up the Heavy. No, they haven't used up Heavy. Okay, I guess we're just going for this because at least worst case scenario, if they go for Heavy, we just Emergency Provisions the board away. We gain 2,000, so that's something, I guess. But it's very awkward here. They're going to set 3, go for Tribe. And we actually do think about this. We could Solemn the Tribe because we're taking more life points on average from that Tribe attack than we would be if we just Solemn it. So we are just going to Solemn it, drop them down to 1,300. They go for a premature burial here, bring back the Tribe, and now they'll be able to attack over our set. Now we will be able to stay alive here because we do have the Emergency Provisions to send the Nobleman of Cross out here. But this is not looking good for us. So we draw into a Warrior Lady, and that will not quite do it. And so that'll be the end of the game. Again, Emergency Provisions coming up, not really doing much for us. It kept us alive for one more turn, but realistically, there wasn't really a way that we could leverage that into a victory there. So I do not like Emergency Provisions at all. I think it's a really bad card. Even though it can pair with Mirage kind of nicely. Mirage is a one-of, and you don't necessarily want to play Emergency Provisions because you are going to wind up in a lot of situations where you draw it without the Mirage. So we're just going to start this game by setting a Zaluk, setting a Saku, passing back to them. They're going to bring out an Exile to pop the Zaluk. They're going to go for Forceful to send back Change of Heart here. But I still feel like we're in a pretty good position overall. We draw a Tribe, which is pretty good. We're going to go for Blade Knight. We're going to set the Rhoda and the Knock to get that Blade Knight up to 2k. We're going to attack in for 2k. And then main 2, we're going to go for Rhoda here. This will drop the Blade Knight's attack down, but I don't want to just hard lose to Heavy. So I do that to just get a Warrior out of deck. and I hope that they don't have a way to, sort of heavy our back row and also beat over the Blade Knight. So they're going to go for pot here. They're going to go for jar here. And they're going to go for heavy, wiping out our back row, bringing out an Abyss Soldier to get over that Blade Knight. So that will do it. They did have the out to that. And then they're going to set one, pass back to us. We draw a heavy, which is okay. We're going to set two, pass back to them. They're going to just go into attack over a War Lady. We'll banish both. And they'll pass back to us. We draw pre-mat so we can pre-mat back our Blade Knight if we want to get more damage in here. We're just going to go for heavy. Pre-mat back that Blade Knight indeed. We're pre-matting back the Don's Luke. Yeah, I think that's fine. This is the same clock either way. 3k damage, so 200 clock no matter what. But yeah, this will also get to rip a card out of their hand. We rip Raigeki Break, which is a pretty good one, honestly. They are going to go for change on our tribe, which is a bit awkward here. They're going to go for Chick the Yellow. So that is a very interesting card here. It seems like they're probably on a Makura combo shenanigan. They're going to attack in for 2, and then use Chick's effect to look at the top card of our deck and place it on top or bottom of the deck. Now, unfortunately, if you were playing this in paper, the opponent would be able to just look at that and not show the opponent. There's no macro for that on DB, so we just both have to look at the card because I have to manipulate to the top or bottom of the deck. Yeah, they're going to send the fiber to the bottom, and then they're going to use Tribe to pop itself and pass back to us. We draw an MSG. That's not really going to be that good. We set the MSG, pass back to them. They're going to attack in for 1,000. They're playing Chick Control now. They're going to see a ring, so ring will go to the bottom of the deck. And, they'll pass back to us. We draw a Dust. So they're taking away our best cards with that Chick. They're going to go for knock, or not knock, but no moment of extermination on our Dust Tornado. We could potentially fire that just to prevent us from losing Dust in deck. But, if they do have a Dust in deck, I don't necessarily want them to draw it and then set it in case we do draw any live back row. So that's why I go for that. Looks like they're not playing any Dusts in deck. But yeah. So when you're playing online, you don't reveal the main deck because the opponent can just screenshot it. So they're going to go for a Chick, and they're going to send that to the bottom of the deck there to keep the Chick online. We draw TT, though, so that's pretty nice. But it doesn't actually deal with the Chick if they just choose to keep attacking in with Chick. Luckily for us, they bring out a monster there, and we're just going to TT that away. We draw Pot, so actually, this is working out pretty well for us. If they had just kept the Chick online, then we wouldn't have really had a good out to it. As is, we draw Forceful here, so we're going to Forceful away that Rhoda in hand. We see they've also got a Tribe, but we got exiled to deal with the Tribe, and I figure they've got worse warrior targets, or worse for us, warrior targets left in deck. They're going to bring out a Tribe here, attack in for 16, drop us down to 22. We're dropping dangerously low. We draw Saku though, so that's kind of nice. We're just going to MST their back row. It is a jar. I think that MST there is a really costly mistake because we know that they're playing jars, so we don't necessarily have to go for this. Also, what we're going to do this turn is summon Exiled Force, pop the Tribe, set Saku, pass back to them. There's no real reason to go for the MST here. They could have an MST left in deck, true. But, if they go for MST on one of our back row blind, I guess they did the Saku, but if that's what they draw, then that's it. We don't have to worry about any more pressure from them. So I think this was a major misplay on my part. I go for Exiled on the Tribe, pass back to them, and they do get a draw off jar. They also, are set up for plays later if they draw into like a Snatch Shield or a Pre-Mat or something like that. Or I guess they've already used up no, that was Change of Heart they used earlier. So I think that my MST play was really costly, especially when I draw into Mirage here. MST would have been able to out the Mirage. But yeah, we draw 4 off this Mirage here. And those are okay ones, but we are going to lose a bunch of them here. They go for Pre-Mat, though, so this might be the end of the game now. They're going to bring in Abyss Soldier here and go for Rhoda to grab a Makura. So yeah, the MST would have been able to pop the Pre-Mat here, kept us alive one more turn. Now, I don't really know if anything else in our hand would have kept us alive beyond that. If we kept Rhoda or Breaker, that'd be decent, as we'd have a monster on board to hit over the Makura no matter what. But as is, I think this was still a pretty rough spot to be in no matter what. So, yeah, but they're going to attack in, and that will be the end of the game. If I hadn't gone for MST on the jar, this could have been a different outcome in the end here, but it still would have been very, very close. So, what are my thoughts on the deck? I think Warrior is still going to be a good deck, no matter how you slice it. I'm not the best Warrior player, so take my losses here with a grain of salt, or not with a grain of salt necessarily, but like analyze what I had in hand for yourself and come to a determination about whether I actually could have won or not based on the plays that I made, and whether if I was making reasonable plays, I would have actually won these games where I lost them. So that's what I recommend doing to sort of decide on the nature of this deck. I still think this deck is very good. I do think, though, Emergency Provision should not be in these decks with the Mirage. I think that if you're going for Mirage and you really do want to fit Mirage into a deck, just play triple red Geki Break. That's the best way to out Mirage if you don't draw into your MST. So yeah, Emergency Provision should basically see play in almost no deck, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, let me know what you think about emerging provisions down in the comments below. Let me know what you think about warriors down in the comments below as well. And if you enjoy this sort of content, please do subscribe. It really helps out the channel a lot, and as well as leaving the video a like, that helps out too. If you want to support me directly, I do have a Patreon. Link is in the description of the video. So big shout outs to Brent Donker, Porkchop Coon, GMYFS, and Rinsewin for supporting me there. It really means a lot to me. And if you join the Patreon, you'll be able to get shouted out in these videos. Also, if you join in higher tiers, you'll be able to, suggest exclusive video ideas, things like that. So that's very cool as well. Also, if you want to play games in this format or any of the other formats that are featured on the channel, please join the YGO from Zero Discord server. Links in the description down below. We hold weekly locals in that server, as well as having monthly tournaments as well. And we're currently having a Warrior tournament there. So, if you want to join in on any future tournaments, definitely join that. But I hope you enjoyed as always. And until next time, I've been Ben from YGO from Zero, and I'm signing off.